Hey, this is Chuck at That Rhythm Man Guitars, thatrhythmman.com, and I am going to show you one more acoustic archtop for right now before I break into some electric guitars. And this one is a 1953 Epiphone Broadway Regent. Regent meaning at that time in Epiphone lingo meant that it had a cutaway. So this, much like the video that preceded this one just a little bit, is the Broadway, so it's got the big block inlays. This one happens to be originally a natural finish, fairly plain back, but it has some flame, as you can see. Not heavily flamed, but flamed. While I have it on the back here, you can see this has binding shrinkage, which they often did, but no cracking, all intact, no signs of going anywhere. The headstock is one of my favorites that Epiphone did. The dogwood inlay, not a big one that they did, but it's I think a really nice looking one. I kind of prefer it over the vines and the other things that they did. Well, we have it here. Tuners all appear to be original. This one appears to have the button replaced with an Epiphone button, but from a later time. So the tuners work great. I don't have any trouble with them at all. The pickguard here is a replacement, but done to the style of the original. The frequencator tailpiece is in nice condition, but did have a crack here at one time and was nicely repaired with a strong bead of brass used when they brazed this, so this should probably outlast anybody who owns this guitar. This is one that I think is a good example of why, if you're worried about an archtop having a crack in the top, one of the things you should really do is try and at least get a mirror in there, if not a little endoscopic camera, which you can get really cheaply now. Because if I were to show you this guitar, I don't think you would ever know that it had a crack in the top. This one was actually a victim of some UPS damage on its way to me. So fortunately, since it was new damage, it didn't have any dirt in the crack, which meant it was kept very clean. So if you were to try and look at this close up, you probably wouldn't be able to tell, even looking at the video, or I mean even if you had it in person, that this ever had a crack in the top. But that was repaired. Excellent job on that, of course, and it does have a light overspray of lacquer on the top to just get that all nice and even, but a very light overspray. So it's in pretty good shape there. It has had de-armand on it at one time or another, so it has small holes for the neck mount there. But nice clean neck, no issues at all on that. This, unlike the 40s Epiphones that I have shown so far in these videos, this one has a C-shaped neck, not a V-shaped neck at all. A pretty big fat V, a fat C. This one is, this one's probably like what they call a 58 Les Paul now. That's where I would put it. And otherwise, any other damage that it seems to have, it has some dents next to the frequencator there. I'm not sure what caused those, and I'm not sure how long ago they happened, but actually if you look at them, see if you can get that a good look, you can actually, because those dents pre-existed this guitar getting the light overspray. If you could see that up close, you could see just how light the overspray is, because it doesn't even look like there's finish on some of those little dents. No added finish anyway. So the guitar is all original except for the pickguard. Frets are even original. They are probably on their last round. I would say you won't be able to get one more dressing out of these. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but that's not a big deal. It'll just be due for a refret at some point. Oh, one other interesting thing about this guitar. This has the Truss Rod, which is the Epiphone Truss Rod that adjusted at the heel of the neck. This is, as far as I can tell looking at the Epiphone registry, the latest so far known example of an Epiphone with the thrust rod and the adjustment at the heel. Even years before this guitar was actually made and put out, the truss rod became, more like the Gibson and adjustable at the head. And so I guess one could assume that there's a good chance that this guitar was made at least partially somewhat before that. So I don't know exactly what the story is there, but I think that's an interesting thing. And the Broadway Regent is a fairly rare example of a guitar made by Epiphone, and in natural, even more rare. So it's an interesting guitar. But anyway, that all being said, let's give it a little listen. You can see this guitar in contrast to the other Broadway, which I had in a previous video, which was a 47 Broadway with no cutaway. This guitar actually has a much longer sustain. It is still a pretty even guitar across the fretboard. As you can see. As you can see, another great acoustic arch top. This one, another great Epiphone. This was another one made before they were taken over by Gibson. This is when they still had all the original guys that were making a lot of those guitars around, and were, these are where the real deals in acoustic arch tops can happen, because so many of these Epiphones are as good or better than comparable Gibsons, and they sell for usually half the price of what a comparable Gibson will. Anyway, please check us out at thatrhythmman.com, and we hope to hear from you. Thanks.